Venezuelans now regret giving up their guns to socialist Chavez regime. Joseph Stalin's firearm registration and confiscation was a tremendous success for socialist state. Under the Tsar, Russia was one of the most heavily armed societies on earth. That all changed when Stalin and the communists took control. Stalin was able to control, starve, punish, and imprison a defenseless people after he took their guns. That's what's coming here, folks. There is no secret that Democrats are hoping to repeat this history here in the United States. Well, actually, it's both sides of the aisle. Don't get your panties in a twist, because Trump's in on it too. Today in Venezuela, that citizens regret giving up their guns to the socialist Chavez regime. In 2012, Venezuela's dictator for life, Hugo Chavez, had his rubber stamp legislature pass the Control of Arms, Munitions, and Disarmament Law, a United Nations agenda, folks. The public generally supported it at the time. The law stripped law-abiding Venezuelans of every firearm and round of ammunition that they could legally own. As the country and its citizens have increasingly benefited from the wonders of the Bolivarian socialism, it appears that the public now regrets their support for the total civilian disarmament, as they should. Guns would have served as a vital pillar to maintaining a free people, or at least able to put up a fight. Javier Venegas, 28, a Venezuelan teacher of English now exiled in Ecuador, told Fox News the government security forces at the beginning of the debacle knew that they had no real opposition to their force. Once things were this bad, it was a clear declaration of war against the unarmed population. If only the citizens of Venezuela had the right to keep and bear arms as a check against government tyranny. Once again, another nation demonstrates what can and frequently does happen to a disarmed populace. The despotism pushed by the authoritarian ruling class can proceed full force with no real threat of opposition from the people that they are to subjugate. And to make sure that these folks are subjugated, the United States has done everything in its power to turn Syria into Libya 2.0, and now is got its sights set on turning Venezuela into Libya 3.0. Using many of the same tactics utilized in Syria and Libya, the U.S. is utilizing political pressure, sanctions, and the establishment of a parallel government or puppet government to weaken and overthrow the Maduro government in Venezuela. Now, however, there's evidence that the U.S. is going further and arming of rebels to its toolkit in South America, just like they did in Syria, Al-Qaeda. So they'll give some kind of weird, stupid name to whatever group, and then we got to go fight them, just like they say they want to go down there and fight Hezbollah. According to a report by McClatchy, a North Carolina-based freight company has been implicated in an arms smuggling operation into Venezuela. After McCarthy's report was published, the company halted flights to the country. This revelation comes after Venezuelan authorities claim to have discovered 19 assault weapons, 118 ammunition cartridges, and 90 military-grade radio antennas on board a U.S.-owned plane that had flown to Valencia from Miami. The Boeing 767 is owned by 21 Air, which was based in Greensboro, North Carolina. Interesting enough, the plane made around 40 round-trip flights between Miami and various locations in Venezuela and Colombia since January 11th, the day after Maduro was sworn in to a second term as president. However, the flights abruptly ended after McClatchy first reported them. 21 Air denied knowledge of the arms shipment, saying that the flight had been chartered from another company called GPS Air, which also denied sending arms. While no definitive links between 21 Air and the U.S. government have been established, McClatchy reports the chairman of 21 Air, Adolfo Romano, as well as another employee at the company, has ties to Gemini Air Cargo, which was also involved in CIA's rendition program during the administration of George W. Bush. In 2006, Amnesty International identified Jemeni Air as a front company that had authorization to land on U.S. military bases worldwide. The CIA has a long history of running the front companies for covert actions. Most famously, the CIA ran a front company called Air America, which operated in 1950 to 1976. In the 80s, the CIA front company called Southern Air Transport was used sending arms to the U.S.-backed Contras in Nicaragua. And the saga continues, folks. The same story. History repeating itself. Spread that democracy. U.S. deployed special forces to Puerto Rico and Colombia ahead of Venezuela invasion. Russian Security Council Nikolai Patrushev said that the U.S. is deploying military assets to Puerto Rico and Colombia for a future military intervention in Venezuela to remove Nicolas Maduro from power. Well, there's more to it than that, but let's see. Showing sarcasm and arrogance towards the Venezuelan people, the United States is preparing a military invasion of an independent state, Patrushev told Russian newspaper. According to a statement, Washington has transferred American Special Operations Forces to Puerto Rico. The landing of U.S. forces in Colombia, which clearly indicates the Pentagon is reinforcing the grouping of troops in the region. As he explained, Venezuela rejected humanitarian aid imposed on it by the U.S. because it recognizes that Washington uses aid as a precursor to military intervention. Using outfits like USAID and any other NGO, it's already well established that those are filled with CIA operatives. And the Venezuelan people understand this well. Hence, such a reaction, the refusal to accept cargo from the aggressor country, and the support of their president, Patrushev added. The Russian security official said that Washington recommended holding several talks on Venezuela, and Moscow accepted. However, Trump administration officials started using far-fetched pretexts to circumvent these discussions, Patrushev added. Last week, President Putin said that Russia is militarily ready for a Cuban Missile-style crisis, commenting on the nuclear first strike capability amidst growing tensions with U.S. The remarks were given to Russian media following a prior speech wherein he warned Moscow will match any attempt by the U.S. to station intermediate-range nuclear missiles in Europe in the wake of the now collapsing INF treaty. It's just turned into more of a mess and more of a mess, but at any rate, so we'll just finish this part out. Putin specifically threatened deployment of hypersonic missiles on ships and submarines, which could enter U.S. territorial waters without detection if American intermediate-range missiles move into Europe. While it remains unclear just how far Russia's commitment to protecting the Maduro regime would stretch, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreza said Monday that his government would not tolerate foreign interference. We are not going to allow intervention. We Venezuelans will solve our own problems. Yeah, spread that democracy, folks. Reports have emerged of a deal clinched between the United States and Daesh, under which Washington has received massive amounts of gold in exchange for providing safe passage to the terrorist group's members in Syria. The deal gave United States tens of tons of gold that the terror organization has stolen, the official Syrian Arab news agency SANA reported on Tuesday. In return, U.S. forces would allow terrorists and their ringleaders to escape their hideouts in the eastern province of Deir el-Zawar, the agency added. The gold has been carried away from the province's al-Baghous area on board helicopters. The helicopters, according to eyewitnesses, transported large boxes of Daesh spoils from the al-Dashisha area in the countryside of northern Hasaka in northern Syria. American forces already appropriated and shipped out huge quantities of gold they'd seized during the Daesh's strongholds, bringing the total amount of gold acquired and transferred to the U.S. to around 50 tons. So we know what the fuck is going on. And look at, don't forget, all northern Syria is that oil-rich area, and they intend on taking that, and they intend on doing the same shit to fucking Venezuela. This is these Jew cocksuckers in our government that's doing this shit. The latest report comes around a week after the U.S.-led coalition transferred Daesh terrorists and their family members in trucks out of Baghouz village, where the Romanian Daesh elements are holed up. According to the so-called Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the terror outfit launched a campaign of bloodshed and destruction in Syria and Iraq since 2014. Later that year, the U.S. led scores of its allies in an invasion of the two countries under the pretext of dislodging terrorists. Damascus objects to Washington's military presence on its soil and has repeatedly brought its stated goal into question. Daesh has lost all the swaths of land that it had captured from Syrian government thanks to successful army operations, which have the backing of Iran and Russia. U.S. protecting Daesh ringleader, an Iraqi lawmaker, meanwhile, has said that Daesh's ringleader, Ibrahim al-Samarari, also known as Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, also known as Simon Elliott, a little Jew faggot, is being protected by U.S. forces in a western desert area located in the Iraq province in Al-Anbar. Hassan Salam from the parliament's Al-Nasikon bloc, which is associated with the Asib al-Haq League of the Righteous paramilitary group, made the remarks to Lebanon's El Nisara news website. American forces based in Ain al-Assad air base in the province, which is being used by U.S. military, provide all the means required for al-Baghdadi's movement between Iraq and Syria, he added. He is traveling between Iraq and Syria under the U.S. forces' protection. I'd reported on that before. All along the Euphrates River, they'd bounce back and forth between Iraq and Syria, and they would change control over all these oil fields on the northern side of the Euphrates River. It's huge at any rate. So Washington, he added, was supporting al-Baghdadi's movement around and out of concern about the draft legislature prepared at the parliament, which obliges American forces to leave Iraqi soil. Iraqi lawmakers are planning to ratify the bill at the start of the upcoming season, Salam concluded. So, there's what we got in store for Venezuela, folks. It's going to get bad. They're going to, I can only imagine what that's going to turn it into. And will it spill over into this larger context of World War III as they begin sending all these war-torn people, just as they did with Syria, sending them into Turkey. And remember, I've been reporting that Mexico's the new Turkey. They're going to break that nation, and, well, they already got control over it, but they're going to turn that into the new Turkey. And when the hammer's down, prepare for millions upon millions of invaders into the United States. Venezuela's got the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, and they have a shitload of gold. Now, just thinking that that the United States is the only one involved in this is really naive. Russia's involved in this stuff. They're trying to loot Venezuela as well. They got contracts through Oleg Deripaska and Roman Abramovich through Rusal, who's getting the mining contracts to mine their gold. The IMF is, the Bank of London, Rothschilds, has tons of their gold. and are refusing to give it back to the country because they're stealing it. This shit's not going to end until we fucking kill the fucking Rothschilds, literally. Look, if you want to see any change, that's where it's got to start. You got to kill the bankers. I'm talking about all these motherfuckers. And if you think I'm kidding, hell, if I had a chance, I'd be front line on that shit. So at any rate, this thing is fucking such a charade, and the American people are allowing our military to be utilized for this kind of blatant fucking crimes against humanity, basically, and for the benefit not of the American people, which would be wrong anyway, but for fucking asshole bankers that's been fucking screwing you for hundreds of years now. It's time for this stuff to stop. Anyway, so, okay. I'd like to hear some plans. You guys leave some comments in the comment section, just how we can accomplish this. We should start talking about this. No more bullshit. I tell you these reports and stuff and tell you who the fucking enemy is, but let's talk about how we could get rid of these motherfuckers. I mean, really get rid of them. All right, enough out of me. Wardo out.